Hi there, Natalie with you today with a new process video for Altenew. And today we're going to talk all about embossing folders and how they can help you add dimension and texture to your memory keeping layouts. So see you in a bit. Welcome back. Today, like I mentioned, we're going to talk all about embossing folders and how they can help you create beautiful, textural, and very dimensional memory keeping layouts. And embossing folders are a great tool that card makers use just to create those simple and beautiful cards. But I want to show you a few ideas, and I'm going to show you in 3 different formats. Let's start with a pocket page. For this, I am using the Daisies embossing folder, and these folders are from the latest release from Altenew. So what I'm going to do is I want to create, or this year should I say, I'm creating a me album. So every week I am adding a new layout all about me. So for this one, I want to keep it fairly simple. So you're going to see that I've already cut a piece of cardstock, and I'm using Nina. This is a 110 pound cardstock. And all I'm going to do is just ink blend. I'm going to bring color onto the cardstock. And for that, I am using Frosty Pink Mixed Media Ink. And all I'm doing is using my ink blending tool. I'm using the large one. And I'm just dabbing the ink blending tool on the ink pad. And then I'm going to go on a circular motion on top of the cardstock just to add the color onto it. Now, very simple. I'm starting the motion of the circular motion, outside of the cardstock so that I avoid those those harsh lines that the brush can create. So once I've pretty much completed my cardstock, and I size the cardstock so that I can cut out a 4x6 card and a 3x4 card. So now that I have the Frosty Pink, I'm going to come in with a little bit of coral berry. I want to create a soft mix between the soft pink and give it more of a salmon tone. So I'm just again ink blending a little bit using my ink blending tool. And once my cardstock is ready with the ink, I'm going to heat set it. Remember, mixed media inks become permanent once you add heat. So now that I have that ready, I'm going to start working on the embossing folder. And my idea is I want to add texture. I want to make the 4x6 card, which is going to be my title card, very texture and dimension. So what I'm doing right now is I'm using the same color inks. This is Frosty Pink, and all I'm going to do is drag the ink on top of the embossing folder. I want to make sure that the flowers are white and everything else is dark, creates color so that the flowers stand out. So all I'm doing is I'm using the part that has the flowers coming out. So when you drag your ink, the flowers are sunken. That's the best way to describe it. So all I'm doing is just drag a Frosty Pink on top of it, and then I'm dabbing a little bit of coral berry on top of it. I want to make sure that all the areas that are raised on the folder are going to collect the color. Once I have it in place, I'm going to close my folder. I'm going to use my big die cutting machine, and I'm just going to put it once through my die cutting machine. I'm using 110 pound in Solar Crest Nina white cardstock. I just want that thick cardstock and a nice definition on it. So once I have my first pass, I already have my impression. You're going to see that I have a leftover piece. I'm actually going to take advantage of that. There's still some ink left on my folder, and I'm going to create a second impression just on the little piece of paper left over. I think that's going to be what I'm going to use for my 3x4 card. So again, because I am using mixed media inks, I'm going to make sure to add some heat to the cardstock just so that the ink becomes permanent. And that's pretty much all I'm gonna need for my cards. So now here is the fun part. Like I said, I want to add dimension. I don't want to use the entire card. I think it's gonna be a little bit too much. I want to have a little bit of space, negative space, to where I can add my title. So the best way that I can use that is I'm gonna cut out the florals, but I'm not gonna fully cut them. So when I go carefully, I'm gonna just take all the leftover paper from the side of the embossing of the big complete daisy. So you're gonna see that I'm carefully fussy cutting the area around it, and I mean carefully because I want to make sure that I pick up, or when I fussy cut, should I say, I get all the little nooks and crannies. So it is gonna take a little bit of elbow grease just to cut all those little pieces, and it's gonna take a little bit of time because you just want to make sure that you detail. The beauty of creating this embossing technique or this embossed look onto my cardstock is by creating those little nooks and crannies that are gonna give me that definition and the nice dimension when I attach it to the cardstock. So I'm gonna just start it right now. I'm showing you how I started, and I'm gonna take it off camera. I'm not gonna cut the entire thing. I just want to create kind of a corner of it. So I'm gonna make sure that I clean all the area behind the complete daisy, and then I'm gonna use I'm gonna say pretty much cut the bottom edge of it. So you're gonna see that I took it off camera. I'm coming back, and I'm just carefully taking the parts that I want to get away from that color. I just want to keep the white flower kind of standing out, and I make sure that every so often I brought the card back so I knew how much I was covering, I was taking away from the paper. Now that I have everything in place, I just want to add the flowers to the corner of the card. So I want to have, I'm going to say around 3/4 of the card, just showing that ink blending color that I created. So all I'm going to do is just glue you remember the fussy cut edge that I created from the embossed paper to the corner of the card, just using some double adhesive tape, and I'm just gonna cut the extra. So now what I have is that base that I added the ink, and I have the flowers just standing out, but not the entire area. When you emboss with that embossing folder, that's when it's really hard to just emboss the little area without having, the line of the embossing folder. So this is a way to create my 3x4 card, kind of cheat that look. And then, like, remember how I said I had the leftover piece that I have of the ink? I'm just gonna create a 3x4, and I'm gonna keep it fairly simple. I want my title card to have that definition. So just now that I have it ready, I've already printed out my pictures. I make them black and white so that the folder and the flowers that I'm creating are gonna stand out. I am adding my title using the the Puffy stickers. These are the alpha stickers from the Live Your Dream collection, and I'm just gonna put the word Home Life, and I'm just gonna bring another piece of ephemera. These are the die cuts from the Celebrate collection. They're just gonna kind of create my resting card, my subtitle card. It just says Be Happy. And then just to complete my project, I am gonna add some enamel dots. I am using ones from the Warm Grays set, and also from the Tea Party. I've printed my little journaling card using that template that I had, and I just adding some accents just to bring that kind of peachy pink that I have on the cards combined with the black and white. Simple as that. I'm ready to go. Just because I have the definition of the embossing, is already adding quite a bit to my card. And like I said, my idea was I wanted to cheat the embossing folder to create my title card. So the best way is just use the same color, create the background, and then just fussy cut the flowers to give me that same feel that I would have with the embossing folder. Simple as that. Love how that turned out, and that's how you can apply it to your pocket cards. Now I'm going to show you a different idea to create a TN layout, which is something that I work on my journals on a regular basis. For this, I am using the Diamond Star embossing folder, and you're going to see the picture of my nephew. He's just losing his front teeth. What I love about the Diamond Star embossing folder is that it creates those gaps, and that just gives me that idea for his losing teeth. So what I want to do right now to bring color and help me define the lines or of the embossing folder is some ink, and I'm using ink from the Cool Summer Night set, and also from the Seashore Mini Ink Cube set. And all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use the middle tones of the sets, and this one is Volcano Lake and Lagoon from the Seashore one, and the other one is Ocean Waves, and I think it's Dark just for the blue tones, and I want to make sure that it goes from light to dark in the middle to light on the edges. So think of it teal to darker teal, blue to light blue, so that I have that nice combination. So all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna run the mini ink just to add color to the lines that are kind of standing out in the embossing folder, in the inside of the embossing folder. The beauty of this embossing folder is that regardless of how you emboss, because of the linear definition of it, you're gonna have the same look either way. Whether you use the front or the back of the embossing folder, you're gonna have the same shape, just because it has those little kind of pyramid looks that the star creates. So all I'm doing right now is I did it twice because I need 2 panels. I want to create horizontal stripes for the left hand side of my layout and a large long vertical stripe for the right of my layout. So what I've done is I've cut the embossing folder is 6 by 6. I've cut it to fit 5 by 5, and then I'm actually gonna cut for the left hand side of my layout 2 stripes of 5 inches by 2.5 inches of height. And just to help me bring all the colors together, I am adding a piece of washi tape at about 3 inches from the top and 3 inches from the bottom. The height of my entire page is 8.25 by 5 inches. So all I'm doing right now is just gluing. Once I have the washi tape, I'm gonna go ahead and glue the horizontal stripes that I created at the top and the bottom, just making sure that the colors match at the top and the bottom. And I'm just gonna, any excess, I'm just gonna trim it away. I'm gonna punch my holes, and that's pretty much all it's gonna take. I love the fact that it creates that gap in the paper because of the dimension of the stars. You create that gap, and that just matches the idea of my nephew not having teeth at the front, which is so cute. So now that I have that ready, I'm actually gonna add some foam I'm gonna back the picture, with some paper just to make it stand out. But I'm gonna first, before I do that, work on the other side of my page. Now for my other side of the page, I wanna create a vertical strip. And I've already, outside of the camera, added my lines with journal. I have a template on my computer that allows me to do that. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add the washi tape just like I did before at 2.5 inches from the right edge of my layout. And then I've cut 2 inches strips, 2 inches by 5 inches in height. And what I'm going to do, one of the reasons why I'm using this folder is because of the straight lines of the folder. I am able to match the design and create a continuous line. And all I had to do was make sure that when I cut the embossed panel, I follow the lines of the design. So it's just gonna give me that nice clean look, and it's gonna create a nice vertical stripe. Once I have everything set, I'm just gonna go ahead and glue it at the right hand side of my layout and just cut the excess. And like I said before, I make sure that I actually back the picture of my nephew with a piece of paper from the Live Your Dream collection. Enjoy the Right collection. I just wanted to stand out. So you're gonna see that I'm gonna add a little bit of foam adhesive behind it, so that when I glue it on the paper, it actually stands out a little bit higher than the embossed area, and that's the beauty of bringing dimension. Then I am actually adding a title using a chipboard from the Enjoy the Right collection, and I'm just going to tie all of this together, repeat the embellishments, and I'm gonna go with something different what I have in line, because everything that I have is linear. I'm gonna bring circles. So you're gonna see that I'm just gonna create a triangle with the circles, and I'm using circles and hearts. Everything is blue and green, and that's about it. I love how this turned out. The embossing folder, this is the diamond star embossing folder. Just adding that ink to the lines of the design just accents or accentuate the lines and just creates the more definition onto the layout, giving it a little bit of color. Love how this turned out, and this is a way that you can apply it to your traveler's notebooks. You can apply it to cards, to many different projects. Now for my last project, I am going to use the tulips embossing folder. And this year, one of the things that I'm creating is actually scrapping in a smaller format to start with. And the second one, I'm creating a gratitude journal that spans throughout the entire year. For this, I am using layouts that are 7.5 by 9 inches in height. So my idea is I'm actually gonna create a nice circular embossed motif for one of my layouts. So I brought out my watercolor palette. I am using Sunkissed ink and also coral berry ink. I just want the tones of that fuchsia and kind of that orangey tone because those are the colors that my goddaughters are wearing in the pictures. So all I'm gonna do is I stamp the ink onto the watercolor palette, and I'm gonna use a brayer to pick up the color and then to move it onto my embossing folder. Now I want to make sure that the flowers remain white, so I'm gonna apply the ink to the part where the area of the folder where the flowers are sunken. So you're gonna see that I am able to mix the colors with the brayer on my palette, so when I apply it onto my folder I don't have streaks of one single color. Instead I have a nice diffuse combination of the colors on the background. Now there's some areas where the ink actually went inside of the flowers. You're gonna see with my finger I'm just gonna move it around, give it kind of a watercolor messy effect. Once I have that in place, I'm gonna go ahead and emboss it using my die cutting machine. I am using, this is 80-pound Nina Solar Crest white. I don't want something really heavy for this. And once I have it ready, took no time, I'm cleaning up my folders in between, by the way. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bring the color wheel die to cut the circle. I brought this because the die is quite big. The die actually measures 5.5 inches in width and circumference, and my folder is 6 inches, so I wanted something relatively big so that it's gonna become the focal point of my layer. So all I'm doing right now is just moving the die so that I can pick up the big tall tulips that's standing up, like kind of standing out on the background, and I took it to my die cutting machine and cut the circle. Now at the same time I also cut one of the color wheel dies using white cardstock, but it actually I had to create the frame, but I had to create that kind of the pie chart look from inside. So all I'm gonna do is use a pair of scissors to cut all those little lines and just have the frame. Now that I look back at the layout, I think I should have created 2 of those frames just to have a thicker frame, but I don't mind it. So all I'm doing right now is just adding some glue just to create or frame that embossed circle. Once I have that in place, it's actually gonna come together quite easily. I am using, because I want the whiteness of the flowers and the embossed circle to stand out, I am using a vanilla color cardstock that is cut to 7.5 inches in wide by 9 in height. And then I'm gonna place the circle right at the top of my layout in the center. So you're gonna see that I'm just gluing it straight onto where I want it to sit. I'm gonna make sure that I kind of rotate it so the flowers show most of it. I want to keep it fairly simple so that the background becomes the focal point. Now you're gonna see my goddaughters are wearing that fuchsia and kind of peach pants, so I'm gonna bring some of those tones to the layout. I'm bringing embellishments from the Celebrate collection, so I'm bringing a frame, and part of the title is gonna be some of the die cuts. I have a little container of die cuts, extra ones when I create projects, and I added that little butterfly at the top that was created with the Mariposa Mix and Match Die Set, and it actually has a piece of vellum on the background and the defined outline on top out of white cardstock. All I'm doing right now is just completing the title, and then I'm gonna add my lines to journal using my fine liner underneath the title. One of the things that I'm gonna add is a sticker that talks about gratitude. Like I said, this is my gratitude journal for the year, and I'm gonna bring some shine. For that, I'm just gonna add some sequins from my stash that has those orangey tones and also a little bit of sparkle. Once that's ready, I am ready to go. Fairly simple. I love how this turned out. I love the fact that the circle has the flowers. It just has all those colors. It just creates a lot of dimension. It creates a nice focal point for my layout. And I loved working with embossing folders. there is so much you can do with them beyond card making, and I hope you try it. As always, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact me. Remember to hop onto the blog to check more details, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Take care, guys.
Hello crafters, I hope you enjoyed that video. If you want to see more, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss anything. Thanks for watching.